Good evening. Welcome to Elyria City Council meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. At this time, we'll take a moment of reflective silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Mitchell, would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. If I could ask the viewing audience to please turn your phones to the off mode or silent mode. Out of respect for the council, it'd be greatly appreciated. Mr. Clerk, I have roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Sierra.
Here.
Mr. Armstrong.
Here.
Mr. Oswald.
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Tollett.
Here.
Mr. Lippian.
Here.
Mrs. Sawerka.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Mr. Stewart.
Here.
All present.
Can I get approval of the minutes that were distributed for the September 15, 2025 meetings?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any
Question.
further discussion? Questions have been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Remarks or reports from city officials. Mayor Brubaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things. A couple of you asked, is the city going to do anything for the 250th birthday of the country, of the United States, which will be next year? I met with Director Reardon today, and we're starting to formulate some ideas, probably going to do it during our 4th of July celebration, which will be July 3rd this year as our main date, but adding some activities and some other things to that. So there'll be more information. If you have any ideas, please reach out to Director Reardon or myself. Also today, Assistant Safety Service Director Strozak and the Strollo team met and finalized the complex bidding. The bid will go out officially the 28th, which I think is next Tuesday. A pre-bid will be the following week. The bids are due November 20th, and then they will, around December 10th or so, they will make a recommendation on the GC for that project. So we are moving forward to that. I would say before the end of the year, we're going to know we will know who the general contractor is and some specific information on the groundbreaking and moving forward on that project. And I know Finance Director Pileski at the tail end of the meeting tonight, the last part of legislation, the bond renewals and stuff that he talked about at Finance. So it's an exciting time to see that project after, Ms. Sawerka, 6-7 years we've been talking about this, finally seeing this come to fruition. And the last thing I have, I was going to put out a press release, probably will later this week. We were notified late on Friday, as you know, we were in contention. We put in for 3 housing projects, housing developments here in the city, one behind the McGregor Pace over on Leona Street, and the other 2, one on Griswold, one on West River Road North. And we were notified late Friday that Lorain County got 2 of the 10 that were given by the state of Ohio out of 51 applications, and Elyria got 2, the 2 in Lorain County. We were awarded, or the developers were awarded the Pace McGregor Senior Housing. It's 115 units, $36 million investment that will go right behind McGregor Pace Clinic. That is scheduled to do the ribbon cutting on that on November 13th. They'll be moving in November 3rd. So we probably will see construction out there late 3rd quarter of 2026. And the second one the city was awarded was the one that the gentleman came and spoke out of South Carolina, the one on West River Road North, just north of I think it's the Black River Landing School. That is a 216-unit affordable housing complex. That is $40 million investment, and they would be on the same time frame as the first one is late fall in 2026. So there's $76 million in investment coming to the city over in the mall area. We still are on track, Mr. Worker, to do it, even though the second one didn't get it on Griswold. We are still proceeding with a traffic study in that area just to make sure that we're covering our bases. So between the Public Works Complex and the 2 new developments and the opening of McGregor Pace Clinic, some exciting stuff coming our way. So I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Questions for the mayor? Mr. Schneider?
Through you, Mr. President, to Mayor Brubaker. Thank you for the update. So is the
it would be a complex that would have been where the old Maplewood School was. Is that off the table at this point, or are they looking at other financing options, or do you know? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. President, they are not off the table. They, as well as the one entity in Oberlin, are considered on the waiting list with the state. So if one of these other two fall through for whatever reason, then they would be, could potentially be up next. Again, there were 51 applications. 10 were awarded, 2 in Lorain County, 2 in Franklin County, and no other county got more than 2. So they'll sit on a waiting list. So I don't foresee these 2 falling through, but they would be on a waiting list if one of them does.
Thank you for the clarification.
Ms. Sawerka?
Thank you, through you. Can you give us any update on the railroads? I know you had talked with the people in Washington a while back about that and where we are with that.
We've not been as lucky, through you, Mr. President, we've not been as lucky as Lorain. Now, Lorain's getting a bridge taken care of because that's CSX and we're Norfolk Southern. The last conversation I had with Congressman, Senator Marino, is his staff was going to be working with Norfolk. We've not heard anything back, but I will follow up with that this week.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you,
Then
Mr.
Mr.
President. So I didn't know that we were going to have a traffic study over there on West River, because is this something that we really have to do? Because have we ever had an issue, even when the Midway Mall was thriving? I've talked to some people that live down there, and they said even back when there was a lot of stuff going on, they never had a problem. So why are we going to pay for a traffic study? Is it something really necessary?
Through you, Mr. President, I do believe it's necessary, and I know Councilwoman Swerka brought it up because we are under the impression that we potentially could get 2 on that very corner. That is still a possibility. It may not be in 2027. These housing grants to the OHFC are done annually, and I would suspect that the organization that put in for what was the Griswold Groves will be putting in for next year as well. So we probably will see something in that area, and having an idea of what's coming out on West River Road North, either from Griswold or from that entrance into that development. Yes, I think it's prudent that we do some sort of study over there.
Okay.
Mr. Lippian? Oh, you're good? Good. Any other questions for the mayor? Good. Safety Service Director, Mr. Pianowski.
Thank you, through you. This past weekend on Saturday, the city had its inaugural Touch a Truck event at LCCC, and we probably had a rough estimate 1,000 people attend. It was very well received, a lot of compliments. Part of it is allowing kids to, climb on the trucks and honk the horns and have a good time in that way. But the other part of it that was beneficial to us is we had a significant amount of staff there, department heads, to speak to residents that were there with their children and checking in with department heads and other staff. I was told that we had a lot of good engagement, a lot of good conversation about services that we provide, answering questions and that kind of stuff. And walking around the entire time, checking in with employees and so forth, I saw a lot of pride in having the opportunity to share what they do with the community. I had one department head tell me it was the best city event she'd ever attended. So I think it went over very well. We look to make that an annual thing. I'd like to say thank you to Megan Pugh from my office, who led the organization of it. It was a recommendation of one of our sanitation employees that we consider this, and so I thought it was a good idea, and we moved forward with it. So thank you also to all the employees who helped make Megan's mission easier to accomplish by being willing participants and showing up with a smile. So it went over very well. I think it was a huge success, and we'll look to do it again next year. The ambulance study, we received the first draft of that study report on Friday. I have a meeting tomorrow with Chief Pernesti and a couple of other members of EFD to go over it, review it, and we'll provide feedback to the consultant by Wednesday so that they can input that feedback and make any type of adjustments or edits and get it back to us so we can get it to you once we have the final report. And then next week, I'll start meeting with department heads to discuss their budget requests for 2026. And that's it for tonight, in case you have any questions.
Mr. Sarah?
Through you, Mr. President. So I just want to echo, the thanks and how great that event turned out. My granddaughter had a great time, but I was really kind of impressed with that first hour that was dedicated to sensory concerns, and there was more people there than I expected, and I think it came off really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Werka?
Thank you, through you. When the EMS study comes back, will the consultant be coming to give us a presentation? Do you know?
Yes.
And my other question was trick or treat. Have we thought about special provisions since it's a Friday night? Maybe that's a police chief question.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we picked the 31st, and I know that Friday night is football night. That will be playoff time frame. I don't anticipate Elyria or Elyria Catholic being in the playoffs, so we're going to keep it on the 31st. That's about as politically correct as I could put that.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Finance Director Pileski.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Any questions for the Finance Director? Law Director Deary.
Good evening through you, Mr. President. Item number 4 on the agenda is a resolution. It was brought to my attention by Director Pileski that this resolution is due in to the county auditor. It involves our budget and our tax levies. It is due by the end of the month, and therefore requesting that this would be passed without benefit of a committee referral and also be declared as an emergency. It was circulated with the rest of the legislation with the committee packets this past Friday. I want to recognize once again victim witness advocates Carrie Jarrett and Najee McCall, who were recognized by the Health Awareness Network on Friday evening at Lorraine County Safe Harbor. Every year, this organization does a Break the Silence event to commemorate and speak out against domestic violence. And as a part of that event, there's recognition of their partners in the court system, law enforcement, in nonprofit world, and this year, the Elyria Municipal Court advocates, who are a part of my office, were recognized for their work, and oftentimes their work then goes, I would say, unhonored, and that's not why they do what they do, but it was very, very richly deserved, and so they were celebrated, and I wanted to let you know that that happened. That is all I have for this evening.
Any other questions for the Law Director? Thank you. Elyria Police Department, Chief Welsh. Any questions for the Chief? No, thank you, Chief. Elyria Fire Department, Chief Pernesti. Any questions for the Chief? No. Ms. Reardon, Parks and Recs.
Thank you, through you. Just a few updates. The ice rink is open, so we've had hockey teams in there the past few weeks, so that's going pretty well. But I wanted to let everybody know that our first open skate for the season will be on Saturday, November 1st for the public. And then our Learn to Skate registration is open, and our first session for that will start on November 4th. So some of those spots have actually already filled up, but we are ongoing registration for that. Winter basketball registration is going on for ages 10 to 16. Finwood, we're already starting to decorate out there, so the guys are out there working on lights, and we have a bunch of organizations that will be decorating this year inside the house. That will be open from December 1st to December 22nd. Festival of Lights will be Saturday, December 6th, right here between City Hall and the square. So we are, winter is upon us, and the holidays are approaching. So just a few updates, but I'll also answer any questions that anybody has.
Any questions for the Director? Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. President. Any updates on the Pocket Park, Mrs. Reardon?
Through you, not at this time. We are waiting on a grant, so we should hear about that in November. So that will be a 2026 project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're good, thank you, Ms. Reardon. Mr. Schnodig, City Planner. Any questions for the City Planner? All right. Mr. Farkas, the Chief Building Official. Any questions? Mr. Lippian.
Thank you, through you, Mr. President. Just checking to see if everything's still going along well on Friendlies. Did they get their electrical permit extended, all the paperwork complete, et cetera?
Mr. Chair, through you, the Friendlies project electrical permit was extended. I did that the same day. And to my knowledge, no new permit applications have been submitted.
Quick follow-up, if I may, through you, Mr. President. Any pending deadlines that are close alligators to the boat?
I will defer to the law director as the case has been referred for charges. Thank you.
So, yeah, Mr. President, I would rely on the information from the Chief Building Official. However, if, as he has stated, there have been no further permits that have been submitted, then the stop work order will still be in effect. And my office will review accordingly. But basically, at this point, the stop work order will still be in effect until and unless they pursue those additional permits.
Then, last follow-up to you, Mr. President. Then if it's okay, Mr. Farkas, if we could connect on the back end, I'd like to know what those are and see if we can help work together on accomplishing that.
No worries.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Mr. Armstrong?
Through you, Mr. President. Director, can you explain to everyone here how the condition of 1415 Middle Ave had people actually reach out to me about, how safe is it? Is it unsafe? Can you just give a brief explanation for everybody?
Okay, Mr. Chair, through you. An inspection warrant was executed on that particular site. Mr. Green and myself went in and executed the inspection. The property is in a great state of neglect. Structurally, it's not in imminent danger of collapse. It does show some serious neglect. The roof is leaking. Some of the floors are sagging and beginning to show rot. Clear state of abandonment. We have issued the order to repair or demolish. Pending the budget, next year's approval, that'll be on our agenda for potential demolition.
Thank you.
Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, just for clarification, where exactly is that?
Middle Avenue I can't remember the street. It's down on South on Middle. Mr. Armstrong, I can't recall exactly the corner.
Thank you.
Mr. Oswald, did you have a comment?
Yeah.
Oh, did you want to further, Mr. Armstrong?
Not on this.
It's right across from the Polo Club.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Oswald?
Through you, Mr. President. So, Mr. Farkas, the Friendlies. I know that your department gets a lot of bashing, and I don't appreciate it because I know you guys have a tough job down there. And from what I understand, from the time that that property started, there was numerous calls, numerous ways to try to get a hold of these owners to do something. And if I'm wrong, please fill me in, but nothing was followed through. You've given them chance after chance. And the thing is that so many other people are trying to do what the building department wants. Hubert Oliver hates me right now, because of what I was against over on his building and trying to make things right. And he was trying to do everything that he could by the rule, okay? And when you have somebody like that and it didn't come up in his favor, but I'm sure he's very disappointed. And when you see other businesses that do things like this and don't follow the rules, we have to have a sense of rules. And I know, like I said, you get a lot of bashing from people saying that the city doesn't work with the people, when they're trying to put businesses in it. I don't think it's fair. So I just wanted to make that comment. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, if I may. The building department is a function of the state. It's not the building department's rules, it's the rules we've adopted via the building codes. We are just the messengers. We do attempt to work with ownerships when they come in advance. Here's our project. We love to sit down and talk about preemptive. Here's what's to look for, here's what you have to do. Unfortunately, in most cases, we come across it too late, after it's already done. Trying to fix something after the fact, and then once it's installed, can be very challenging and difficult to overcome. But we do, again, try to work with persons and notify them accordingly of what's needed in hopes of getting toward the end goal of life safety.
Ms. Sawarka?
Thank you, through you. Status update, is it 402 Middle, corner of 4th and Middle, the gray house?
Mr. Chair, through you to Mrs. Sawarka, I do believe that is in court pending. I think that's a Mr. Green case.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Farkas. Superintendent wastewater, Mr. Stewart. Any questions for Mr. Stewart? Engineering, Mr. Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, just wanted to update council on the street resurfacing. We have about half of the streets, asphalt streets, I should say. That portion of the street resurfacing have both layers of asphalt on them right now. Still need to do a lot of adjustments out there. Number of streets also have one course of asphalt on them. The contractor, I believe last week, had 4 or 5 crews in town. Some were paving. I think he had 2 pavers. Some doing full depth, some doing other things, so there was a lot of work going on. They probably need about 3 days to finish the other asphalt streets as far as around the city. Unfortunately, today they had a call off because of the asphalt plant broke down, so that put a little wrench in the overall project. So, but typically the asphalt plants don't close until right around Thanksgiving, if not later, depending on what the weather's like, as well as other projects in the area, larger projects like ODOT type projects. So with that, they're about halfway through. So,
Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. President, if you could, to the contractor, give a shout out. Of the years that I've been on council, I've never seen such a quality job done of driveway, how they do the aprons, it appears to me that they've moved in 18 to 24 inches, sometimes farther than that on the driveways. It's the best I've ever seen. And anyone who goes down Gulf Road can get a great look at it and see it for yourself. What a nice job this group has done with driveway aprons with their asphalt project. Thank you.
Yep. Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. President. First, there's a question in the comments. So it's been a long time and it's been painted out. We still do not have our concrete crack filled over on Naples. And I've asked a few times why we don't know. I still haven't gotten an answer. So that was my one question. The other was a comment. I was just coming in on Gulf Road where they just finished doing the road, and where they crack sealed down the middle of the road, more towards like where Hilliard turns off, it was a perfect 4-inch patch all the way through. I've never seen it. Is it a different machine or a different way that they're laying the sealer in the cracks there when it's brand new?
Typically, they have a shoe that when they disperse their crack sealer, so depending on what type of shoe they had, it would be why it's that. So I'm assuming the shoe on the crack sealing machine was 4 inches.
It was just like so perfect, so that's why it's just, thank you.
Mr. Lippian.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Mr. Engineer, what date will concrete be poured on Baldwin? What date? What date will concrete be poured on Baldwin?
Baldwin is actually going to be asphalted. So the whole street is going to be asphalted. So that's the intent.
That's a surprise to myself and Ms. Swerka. We were told that it would be concrete. In fact, that's what we voted on last year and this year as well.
during the discussions for this year, we switch it over to an asphalt surface.
Unless I'm mistaken, Ms. Zerwicka, if you'd like to opine?
If I may, Mr. President, the reason we're both involved is because half the street's in Ward 1 and the other half of the street is in Ward 3. But my understanding is it was going to be concrete as well. So we'll have to have a sidebar, I guess.
Yes, most definitely. All the communication we've had around this was that it would be concrete. There'll be a lot of disappointed residents, so we should definitely have a conversation about this.
Thank you. Through you, the street sweeping, is that almost done, or where are we with that? Because are you aware of the signs that were illegible?
Yes, so we did instruct the contractor to use a thicker marker, a Sharpie of some sort, something that will stick out so it can be read more easily.
So are they almost done?
This is the second stint of sweeping this year, so they just started into it, I think, a week ago, so it only usually takes a few weeks to sweep the entire city if they hit it hard.
If I could continue, two other things. Whose fault was it that they hit the gas line on Ashland? Should we have had that marked?
We don't mark gas lines. We don't know where they are at. It's up to the contractor to go out and have utilities marked. That's their responsibility.
Because they had a main, you know that?
Yeah, well, I heard it was a service, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't know when that it's not just that area. When Hampton was built, if you remember, for some reason, when they installed the gas lines in a lot of those areas, they did it by pushing it probably across the road, and I don't know if they hit something or what, but there's a lot of gas lines that end up right underneath the pavement. I mean, when the contractor's out there, he's cutting the concrete, he's cutting 8 inches. He's not cutting 12 inches, 2 foot or nothing like that. They're cutting the thickness of the pavement for the most part, and unfortunately, the gas main was literally right under the concrete.
And my last question is about anything new on Cleveland Street with the railroads? Have they been back to East Bridge at all? I know I'm a broken record on the railroads, but we need to get them fixed.
Unfortunately, I have not heard anything in a while from them. I did reach out, and the last time I did reach out, they did say that it was pushed back till next year, early next year, but I have not heard anything since then.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Lippy and then Mr. Oswald.
Do we know when we're going to get reconstruction on the bridge by East Broad and East River? I believe that was a coordination point between us and Congressman Latta.
Well, we have to go out for LOIs for that.
Repeat that, please.
We have to go out for LOIs for that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to pull a Kenny. I can't hear you.
LOIs, letters of interest.
Letters
We
of
had to
interest.
hire a consultant still.
Okay, and what's the timeline on that?
At this time, we're probably going to be sending letters out here in the next 2 weeks for various things, so we're working on those right now.
Okay, great. And let me see. Any news on getting the sidewalk loan program advertised in the utility bill? I think we talked about that at the last meeting. The loan program for the assessment-based sidewalk program, where people can,
I mean, that's not done to my department at all. That's done to utilities, but we can bring it up to them.
okay, great. That would be fantastic. Thank you, if you could. Thank you.
Ms. Davis.
Through you, Chair. Mr. Knight, I just want to say thank you. My people in Ward 2 are truly happy, especially the ones from Louisiana Street. That street was in disarray for a while, so I'm just starting to thank yous.
Very good. Mr. Armstrong and then Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. President. John, any update on Wayne Street?
Wayne Street?
Yes.
Well, right now, I know they're doing, that's a concrete road. I know right now they're in the Heights area, Alexa area, Vanderbilt area, doing the concrete over there. I would assume they'll be over there within the next week or two.
Thank you.
Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. President, Cleveland Street, the road was separating, and so they went back and patched that within the last week or so. Did we pay for that, or did they?
The issue out there was not the contractor's fault. I'll tell you that right now. Unfortunately, when you're given a budget to do a road and the budget does not include a full reconstruct like East Broad Street did, you run into some issues, so.
So That being said, are we paying for that?
It's a shared between us and as well as ODOT.
Okay,
So it was included as part of the project. They ended up allowing it to be as part of the project.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
That does it for everybody. You kind of got ahead of myself, so we're going to go to public hearings.
We have a few. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held on Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. An ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone certain real property located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio, from H-I Heavy Industrial District to a S-I Special Industrial District.
Are there any proponents? Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Anissa Nieder. I'm the architect representing 525 Mussey.
Okay. Is there anything more you want to add in what's being brought before us? I know you came before the committee. I don't know if there's any other questions, but we will be addressing all three of these at this time. So I don't know if there's anything more you want to add per those comments.
No, nothing I wanted to add, just here for any additional questions as needed. But thank
Does
you.
anybody have any questions in regards to Mr. Tolet?
Through you, Mr. President, real quick, tire storage at the facility, will that be covered or will that be open? Can you dig into that? I received correspondence from a resident.
The tire storage will be interior.
Interior?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And that will also be considered a hazardous storage per the Ohio Building Code. So we'll work with Mr. Farkas's department to make sure all adequate provisions are made to the building.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Ms. Sawerka?
Thank you, through you. I think the only question that we had was the traffic pattern in and around the facility. And I know that it has to be worked out ahead of time, but I think we need to be sensitive and make sure that the owners or you or whoever the agent is works with the police department and safety service director's office, because there's really no non-residential area to get to that location. They're going to have to go through multiple neighborhoods to get there, so.
Yeah, I would say the truck traffic would be fairly limited to, early morning or early afternoon, during business hours. So you're not going to get like a loud truck going through residential areas in, the middle of the night or anything like that. So I think it's going to be very business-centric, but yes, I'll convey to the ownership during operations that we can work with safety service director, police department, and whomever else needs to be at the table to make sure that we're taking the best routes to the facility.
If they're coming, obviously, if they're coming down West Avenue, they're going to be coming through two school districts as they come down West
Sure.
Avenue, if they're getting off of.
I would think they would go down West River.
Ms. Mitchell, yeah. I think during those committee meetings, we talked about West
Yeah.
River being the main point of access to get in and out instead of going down, West Avenue. So I guess, again, to your point, we'll have those communications with the safety service director, the police, the fire department, to make sure those are all aligned. Ms. Sawerka, did you want to have anything more?
No, that's it. No, that's
Ms.
fine. I just want to make sure that it was just mentioned again, that's all.
Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. I don't know if you can answer this question as you're the architect, but there was a gas leak in Avon Lake, a gas or chemical. Is that something that we need to be concerned about with this facility?
No, not to my knowledge. There's not going to be any chemical spillage or anything that hazardous waste spillage that can be part of this. And then if I may add just a little bit more to the traffic pattern, we'll also work with the safety service director to understand the loading of the streets, because I understand that you guys have all went through this wonderful resurfacing project. So we want to make sure that the streets are rated for the truck traffic, as, kind of working through that too.
Well, very good. Welcome. We appreciate what you're doing over here. But with that being said, is there any more proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Please come up, state your name and address for the record. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Sasha Holder. I live at 7328 West River Road South. That place would be in my backyard. And every day that I go out my front door, I see already 2 junkyards. I enjoy my backyard and would like to keep it and to keep the wildlife. My other concern is that it's, I think, maybe 100 feet from the Superfund site, if I'm reading that correctly.
So explain, say that one more time.
The Republic Steel Superfund site. I know that that is not, if I'm reading the map correctly, it's right behind the area. And I worry that the digging and all of the construction that this would bring even more dust and stuff into the air. And we already have to change our Dyson air filters every 6 months now. And the traffic, the constantly all day long, which, you know, I live there, that's what I chose. But I'm just really concerned about having hazardous materials being stored there in another junkyard in the 6th Ward. I mean, I think we already have plenty over there with infirmary. That's what I see over there. And our small group of neighborhood, we have elderly people, we have children with breathing issues. And I just really don't think it's a good idea, and I ask that you guys really consider this, that I see foxes, I see deer. We have a runoff creek that goes down through there. We love to see that. We love to see our deer. And all of that is going to change. And it's going to be nothing but industrial areas. And I personally would like to keep my backyard a little bit quiet and to breathe fine. I don't know what this junkyard is planning to do, but I think that there's been enough done to that area regards to the environment, and that we have to breathe it every day. It's in my backyard, and I would be seeing that every day. And that's all I've got to say, so thank you.
Very good, thank you for coming up. Mr. Callahan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I'd like to know if the representative from the company would like to address those concerns.
So I understand your concern about the word junkyard. However, that was used as a term based on the materials that were coming in and out. However, those materials would not be stored outside, so you would not see those materials. It wouldn't be a junkyard of what you're maybe thinking, so just to address that. All materials there are going to be non-hazardous in nature, so it is an industrial property. However, we are going to be cleaning it up, so it's actually going to be better than what it is currently. So if I could maybe address any other questions.
Mr. Callahan, and then for a follow-up.
Okay. Yeah, one follow-up question through you, Mr. President. Will there be any type of burning of anything on that property?
There will be no burning on the property.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sawerka?
Since she brought up thank you through the chair, President. Since you brought up the quarry, will we, the city, still have access to the quarry? Will we go through your property to get there? How will that be handled? I don't know if we discussed that at committee or not. Mayor, do you remember?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, that was not discussed, but we will still have access points on our current access points, which is not through that property.
That property, thank you.
Mr. Schneider?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you to Ms. Snyder, the architect representative. She had also brought up the stream. Can you also touch base on watershed and that they will have regular visits from wastewater and other entities? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So this site is heavily regulated by the Ohio EPA. It's also required that we do what's called a stormwater pollution prevention plan. say that 3 times fast, or known as SWIP, which is also regulated by the Ohio EPA, the federal EPA for this specific license, and the local municipality. So again, above and beyond what is happening there now, which is nothing. So there will be no runoff, no contamination, obviously, because that's against the law. So all of that will be federally and state regulated along with the local municipality regulation.
And speaking to the stormwater management plan, that's something that's going to be done annually. So, I mean, they have to kind of be in compliance with that. So, Mr. Schnoeding, if you want to respond, I see you stood up. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to what's being discussed here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we did have correspondence with the applicant back in August. Just to reiterate her point, these items will be contained within the buildings, the existing structures. Anything that will be moved will be transferred between the buildings, and as indicated, it will be contained within the buildings. Anything also that is considered hazardous, we're deferring to the Ohio Building Code on that for the definition of sawdust because it is considered combustible, but as she has indicated here, there will be no burning taking place, but sawdust will be stored in the facilities. Thank you. Additionally, Mr. Chair, there is a second individual that would like to comment. Thank you.
Sure. Before I get to the, Chief Pernesi, did you want to add anything in regards to the accessibility maybe that was brought up by Ms. Sawerka? I know the mayor handled that, but you looked like you wanted to add some comment to that. Yeah. Chief, just for the record purposes, just so that there's an understanding, if you could just kind of express, I know you're expressing it to her so that everyone can kind of hear what, that's okay.
So the quarry, the access to the quarry is through that site. It's, you can either cross the river off of Riverside Drive, which under high water, you're not going to be able to do. But for years, the city, because it's our property, has maintained that. And we put in, street department has made like a rubber type of access for our equipment to get down there. So while it was vacant, it was very easy to get there. And I just want to make sure that we always worked when it was LTV or Maverick. We worked with them very closely to be able to get in there. So my only concern is we just have to make sure we stay on that to make sure we have that access, because that is our only way to get to the quarry in an emergency.
Okay. So I guess, thank you, Chief Pernesti. So the last one, is there any more proponents or opponents? Did you want to come up and speak, sir? Please state your name and address for the record. Richard, do you have a last name?
Yeah, there's a bunch of reasons why it shouldn't be approved. Y'all are pretty intelligent.
Before you go any further, Richard, do you have a last name?
Yeah, my last name's Bruce.
Richard Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah, so like, there's a bunch of reasons why it shouldn't be approved. I know y'all know, we've talked about this already. I've been here before, looked at all y'all. Y'all know what you're doing, so I'm sure if you approve it, you own it. So I'm just telling you, I don't think you should. That's my opinion. I've been there 30 years. 30 years already in the same neighborhood. Do any of y'all live there in that neighborhood? I mean, if you do, you know you shouldn't be doing it to us. I mean, everybody else don't want this and that in different areas of Elyria, but yet, you want to open this back up in my area. I don't think it's a good idea, but that's all I got to say about it. You approve it, you own it. Have a
Thank you
good
for
day.
coming up. I declare this public hearing has been held. Law Director Derry.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Just a bit of housekeeping. This is the third reading, so no suspension of rules would be necessary. Also, I just wanted to point out to council, this property is currently zoned as heavy industrial, and therefore The proposal is to rezone it to special industrial. But I just want to let you know, it is currently at heavy industrial. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance to rezone certain real property located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio, from a H-I heavy industrial district to a S-I special industrial district.
Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its third reading.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Under suspension of rules?
No, she does this as a third reading. Is there any other further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-162. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held on Monday, October 20th, 2025, at 7 p.m. to consider the following: an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to 525 Mussey Avenue, LLC for hazardous material storage located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to 525 Mussey Avenue, LLC for hazardous materials storage located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio.
Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its third reading.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-163. You are hereby notified that a public hearing will be held on Monday, October 20th, 2025, at 7 p.m. to consider the following: an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to 525 Mussey Avenue, LLC for a junkyard located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio.
Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any proponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? Are there any opponents? I declare this public hearing has been held.
Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance granting a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 1135 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, to 525 Mussey Avenue, LLC for a junkyard located at 525 Mussey Avenue, Elyria, Ohio.
Mr. Schneider.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its third reading.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mitchell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-164. That's all the public hearings.
President's referrals and remonstrances. Item number 1, Community Development. Item number 2, Finance. Item number 3, Finance and Utilities. Items 4 through 6, received and placed on file in the clerk's office. Petitions and remonstrances.
We have one, Larry Klipstein, 959 Oakwood Drive, subject sanitation.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Larry Klipstein, 959 Oakwood Drive, Elyria, Ohio. Once again, I come before you because I noticed this evening you have a strategic planning committee meeting called by President Stewart for discussion of a sanitation study. As you know from the last council meeting, the enormous amount of outpouring here from members of the city, how they stand behind the sanitation department, how it's one of the best they have ever seen in the city. I talk about rate increases. I would give $10 or $20 a month for these same people to take my trash out and pick up everything I need. They go above and beyond their duties every day of the week. You have a bid from other companies. Okay, in that bid, do they have bulk items that are picked up when you call someone for free? They just come by and get them, or is there a charge for this, or do they even do it at all? Is there also in that bid where they go in the backyards and pick up cans from elderly or the disabled that can't bring them out? Is that in your bid also in the cost? Also, I've seen where garbage bags are dropped in the street. These guys come and they pick up the trash in the middle of the street in the middle of the day. Just our neighbor calls them and here they come. You know, is any other company going to do that? A company, you're nothing but an account number. You're not a member of their company. These are members of our city, just like we are. Also, I'm sure some of you look at Elyria Front Porch. I mean, you probably say you don't, but that's your blood of the city. Over 400 respondents backing this sanitation company. So I don't know really what the discussion is unless it's a rate increase, because a private company isn't going to work here. All I can say is, I mean, you guys make motions. I make motions in response to the city that has told you, we table this until the beginning of the year. Let the new council member decide. The outgoing council people should have no decision in this because it doesn't affect them. We should put this on the table until after January when the new council is elected and not have self-vindictive reasons to do this. I'd like to know what the main reason is from anybody that why you want to change this sanitation department. That's all I have to say. I mean, the city's behind these guys. Anyone that votes to change these guys, it's the last time you'll be on council because they'll vote you out next time. You won't get your levies passed because you're not listening to the city. The city has spoke, so there's no need to change the sanitation department. Keep the things the way they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clipstein.
That's all the petitions from the lobby?
Petitions that remind us from council members.
There are none?
Reports of standing and special committees.
There are none?
Resolutions first reading.
Okay, that's right, that's right. Yep. Are you? Yep. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed without the benefit of a committee report under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions have been called. On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-45. Sponsored by Finance. A resolution approving a list submitted by the Safety Service Director for the collection of delinquent inactive utility accounts and directing the Clerk of Council to certify said accounts to Lorraine County Auditor.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-46.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Sponsored by Finance. A resolution approving the collection of demolition-related costs for 130 Cedar Street, Elyria, Ohio, 44035, and directing the clerk of council to certify said costs to the Lorraine County Auditor.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Excuse me, on the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-47. Sponsored by Finance, a resolution finding that the city has unfit for municipal use certain city property.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Senator. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Ms. Zwerka?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. We had asked at the committee the age of these units, if the Chief Pernesti knows the age of the units that we are, the 9 self-contained breathing apparatus cylinders. That was the only question that came up during the committee meeting.
So these SCBA's, they're probably close to 20 years old. The issue, we are not getting rid of them. We want to give them to the county because while they don't match what we utilize and where they match the county's hazmat team. The county, just like county SWAT team, the county has a countywide hazardous materials team that expressed interest in still utilizing these cylinders. So we want to get them out of our inventory, and we can still provide them to the county for their member, or for our county hazmat team.
So the age of them was 20 years?
At least 20 years old.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-48. Sponsored by Finance, a resolution finding that the city has unfit for municipal use certain city property.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this resolution be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution 2025-49. That's all resolutions first reading.
Resolutions second reading.
There are none.
Resolutions third reading.
There are none.
Ordinances first reading.
Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Elyria to dispose of city property that is unfit for municipal use.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-165. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Elyria to dispose of city property that is unfit for municipal use.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-166. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to purchase aeration diffusers for the wastewater pollution control plant and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-167. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for completion of road diet on Oberlin-Elyria Road and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second by Mr. Armstrong. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-168. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement with Black and Veatch Management Consulting LLC and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency. Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-169. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the water treatment plant, old pump building, roof replacement project, and declare an emergency.
Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency. Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-170. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a local public agency agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the Lower Elyria SRTS Safe Routes to School project and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-171. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise bids and enter into contract for the Safe Routes to School project and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lippian. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-172. Sponsored by Finance. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into amendment number 12 to the agreement with AECom Technical Services, Inc. for management services for the City of Elyria wastewater pollution plant consolidated SSO, CSO, WWPCP wet weather plan and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and declared an emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-173. Sponsored by Utilities and Finance, an ordinance amending Elyria Codified Ordinances, Chapter 937, sewer charges, be it ordained by the Council of the City of Elyria, State of Ohio.
Ms. Mitchell?
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed on its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second by Mr. Sarah. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
We have one nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
One nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-174. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2025-41 to increase the not-to-exceed amount for legal professional services and declare an emergency.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Point of,
Through you, Mr. President, this matter was proposed to be an emergency as well. Should the motions concur?
The motion concurs.
The second concurs.
is there any discussion? Mr. Lippian, before I wanted to ask, I know that you had recused yourself, abstention. This is in regards to legal services for this particular project. I didn't know if you...
Oh, yes, that is no longer extant. Thank you for asking.
Yep, thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Call for the question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the emergency, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-175. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2003-164 and authorizing the execution and delivery of an amendment to an agreement with the Midview Local School District.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-176. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $5 million of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of constructing, furnishing, and equipping a new central maintenance garage facility for the storage and maintenance of city-owned motor vehicles and equipment, including spaces for consumable material storage, vehicle washing, fueling facilities, decontamination, evidence storage for the city's police department, and office and administrative functions, and cleaning, equipping, and improving its site.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second. Second by Mr. Sarah. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Mr.
Sorry.
Stewart, I'm sorry.
Point of
Moderator Derry.
order. Through you, Mr. President. A roll call vote is needed for this, as advised by our bond counsel, Attorney Sharb, and also
That would be hold true for number 22.
a waiver of the reading of the fiscal officer's certificate, if the motion and second would concur, please.
The motion concurs.
Second concurs. Second concurs.
Point of order, this would go for item 22 as well, correct?
Through you, Mr. President, yes, but we will need to deal with that when we get to
separate.
number 22. But
Thank
yes,
you.
correct.
Roll call vote. On the suspension. Oops, sorry.
On the suspension, Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Sarah. Aye. Mr. Armstrong.
Aye.
Mr. Oswald.
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Tolet.
Aye.
Mr. Lippian.
Aye.
Mrs. Sawerka.
Aye.
Mrs. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Schneider.
Aye.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
11 ayes. On the passage, Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Sarah.
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong.
Aye.
Mr. Oswald.
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Tolet.
Aye.
Mr. Lippian?
Aye.
Mrs. Sawerka?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Stewart?
Aye.
11 ayes. Ordinance 2025-177. Sponsored by Finance, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum principal amount of $20 million for the purpose of paying costs of constructing, furnishing, and equipping a new central maintenance garage facility for the storage and maintenance of city-owned motor vehicles and equipment, including spaces for consumable material storage, vehicle washing, fueling, facilities decontamination, evidence storage for the city's police department, and office and administrative functions, and clearing equipping, and improving its site.
Mr. Tolet.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules and with the waiver of fiscal officer's certificate.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schneider. Roll call vote.
Okay. On the suspension, Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Sira.
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Oswald.
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Tolet.
Aye.
Mr. Lippian.
Aye.
Mrs. Sawerka.
A very hearty aye.
Mrs. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Schneider.
Aye.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
11 ayes on the suspension. On the passage, Mr. Callahan.
Aye.
Mr. Sira.
Aye.
Mr. Armstrong.
Aye.
Mr. Oswald.
Aye.
Mrs. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mr. Tolet.
Aye.
Mr. Lippian.
Aye.
Mrs. Sawerka. Mrs. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Schneider.
Aye.
Mr. Stewart.
Aye.
11 ayes. Ordinance 2025-178. Sponsored by Community Development. An ordinance accepting the dedication of certain lands, easements, and rights-of-way for the installation of streets and utilities is provided for the final plat of Juniper Ridge subdivision.
Mr. Schneider, if you,
Mr. President, for the record, I'll be recusing myself from agenda item number 23 due to a business conflict of interest.
very good. Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. President, I ask that this ordinance be passed in its first reading under suspension of rules.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
On the suspension, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. On the passage, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Ordinance 2025-179. Sponsored by Community Development, an ordinance amending Section 1131.02 codified ordinances of the City of Elyria, Ohio, known as the zoning ordinance, to rezone certain real property located on West Ridge Road, Elyria, from a R-MHL residential multi-household low-density district and a R-MHH residential multi-household high-density to a R-MHH residential multi-household high-density district.
I declare this ordinance has had its first reading. Public hearing is scheduled for 11/17 of 2025 at 7 p.m.
That's all ordinances first reading.
Ordinance is second reading.
There are none.
Ordinance is third reading.
There are none.
Committee calls.
Community Development requests the Law Director, Safety Service Director, Building Inspector, and Engineer on Monday, 10/27, beginning at 6 p.m. Finance Utilities requests the Mayor, Law Director, Finance Director, Safety Service Director, and Engineer, Monday, 10/27, immediately following the CD. Strategic Planning requests the Mayor, Safety Service Director, Finance Director, and Law Director on Monday, 10/20, immediately following full council.
Miscellaneous and unfinished business? I do. Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Mr. President, I just want to say, I thought I seen streets out there, so I just want to give a kudos out to all the guys out there for the leaf pickup. It started today, and I seen them out there on my ward, so good job to those guys out there.
Very good, thank you. Any other miscellaneous and unfinished business? Mr. Lippian?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President, I just wanted to thank the mayor for handling the issue at 549 Case. Some unsafe structures and no utilities, and I understand the property was secured, and the unbolted door might be fixed in the near future, so thank you very much, sir, for handling that.
Any other miscellaneous and unfinished business? If not, I'll entertain a motion adjournment, and then we'll take a 5-minute recess and go into strategic planning.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Mitchell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Snyder. Any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. This meeting is adjourned.
Do we go into executive session?
No, because it's discussion.
So it is open to the public? Okay, I didn't know. No, I didn't.
Okay, so this is the strategic planning meeting for Monday, October 20th, 2025. It's in regards to the sanitation study. This is just for discussion only. I brought this up at the end of last year on December 16th at a committee meeting, I believe it was, and had asked the safety service director at that time to look at what it would take to go into the private market for the sanitation department. Because we have nothing to compare this department to. When you look at what other departments or what other communities do, it's just saying, okay, we're going to look at that time we just increased the rates up to $5 more an hour, and that rate increased it up to $33, just under $33, I believe, for that. And then on top of just the cost of vehicles, the cost of salary and benefits, I just wanted to look at it. I wanted to compare what other communities do in this county. And I think that's fair. I think that's what you would expect from your leaders, your officials here that you elected who represent you, to see what is out there. You know, we're tasked here to be fiscally responsible. And that was the very reason why I did it. Now, that doesn't discount the fact that service isn't played into this, because it is. You guys do a tremendous job. No one else hasn't said that. But I think we owe it to the residents of the city to look at, to see what that cost savings is, if that's a direction that we choose to go or consider. I think that's only fair. So that's why I had asked him to do that from that standpoint. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Safety Service Director to kind of go through the process of the RFP, how that was produced, and then there was a study that the city did back in, I think, 2013 or 14 in that area in regards to REA, which is regards to, a study there with routes and other ways to be efficient. We did get that report. There is not a representative here. I would ask the Safety Service Director just to kind of do a broad brush on that. But there's going to be no action here tonight. I think it's just important to understand the process, what it was, what it looks like, and go from there. But there's not going to be any decision made tonight. So Safety Service Director Pianowski.
Thank you, through you. End of last year, I came to this council and asked for them to adopt a $5 per month increase for the sanitation rates, which they did. Shortly thereafter, President Stewart did ask me to look at bids for the sanitation services. We also undertook a financial study to look at our current costs and for services that we provide, and also projecting costs for the services we provide into the future. And then a third piece of information we were looking at is we asked a company to do a route study. Our routes had not been looked at for over 15 years, as was reported to me, and we were trying to find efficiencies that we maybe weren't taking advantage of. That was part of the financial study as well as the route study. And all of this information came back sometime in September, and that's why we're talking about it now. So I can go through each one of those things separately to kind of give a little bit of background. The route study was done through Routeware, which is a company that we'd recently started receiving services from by putting a phone with an app in each sanitation truck, which tracks the routes, helps us keep track of our stops, helps us track brush piles whenever we see them, helps us track some other information, and also allows us to do our vehicle checks before we go out on the road, and to save all that information. So they have this other service where they'll look at your routes that you're currently doing, analyze them, look at efficiencies. Is there room to cut down on routes? Is there room, how long does it take us to do a route? What average stops? The information is really quite impressive. So it took us some time to gather that information for the route study. Myself and Mr. Boone met with them regularly until we got all that information uploaded into their database. Unfortunately, the city of Elyria was still tracking routes on paper, and so it took quite a while to get some of that data input. And in mid and late August, they came back with two recommendations. The first one, I don't remember which one was first, but one recommendation was maintaining our current routes. No customers would have to switch their days. There would be some balancing amongst the days. The idea being that we have 4 trash routes, 3 recycling routes, and 2 bulk routes that go out Monday through Friday. Are they equally balanced amongst the routes within the day? Are we efficient in the way we're running those routes? And so that was one option, and it was shifting some of our customers around within the same day. The other option would cause a disruption of service to more residents, meaning that they would have to switch their day. It was about 10% of our customers, about 1,650 of them. And so that would be a little bit different. So they potentially have to switch, or they would have to switch their day. But if we went that route, no pun intended, we would be able to eliminate a garbage route, a recycling route, and half of a bulk route on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So that would save us some money, because that would be 2.5 trucks each of those days that aren't on the road. We don't have to deal with fuel. We don't have to deal with maintenance, wear and tear. We're beating them up a little bit less. The driver of those trucks could be used for other services that the sanitation department utilizes, such as brush pickup, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So those are the two options that we're looking at, but one of them could save us some money if we went that route, just due to less trucks on the road and a number of other factors. The financial study was done, a financial study was done back in 2018 by REA Associates, I think it's called. I had a copy of that, and I thought it was really well done. They looked at the sanitation department overall. They also looked at the sanitation department and some of the individual services that they offered, trying to drill down the costs of those particular services, like what does it cost to do recycling? What does it cost to do brush pickup? What are some of the different things that they do, and what do they cost? What does it cost to put a truck on the road each day? So it was really helpful. They did come back with some rate increases that they recommended back in 2018. Those were not put in place. And so another thing that they reviewed at that time was they had started talking about building a new central maintenance garage, which we are still talking about now. So I thought it lined up a lot of ways. And so I reached out to them and asked them to update their report from 2018 to incorporate today's numbers. Any other additional information that might have changed since then till now, which wasn't a whole lot. It was a lot of just updating the numbers and the costs that we're realizing now in 2025 versus 2018. And they did come back with some recommendations related to, well, first of all, they kind of looked at each looked at a lot of the different services that we provide in the sanitation department and told us what it cost. They told us what we could save if we eliminated recycling, for instance. They told us what it costs to do the forestry and the brush pickup and all these other services that we do out of the sanitation department, just to help us understand better what our costs are. They broke down of the entire budget, how much is labor, how much is dumping fees at the landfill, how much of it is maintenance, how much of it is a number of things, to help us have a clearer picture of where our costs come from, with hopes that maybe we could find places that we could save money. So that report has been provided, and I think they did a nice job. I think it gives us a lot of good information that helps us understand better what the sanitation department is, as far as the costs go, and also projecting those costs in the reliable future. They went out I would say 5 years is probably reliable, including in that they gave us some rate recommendations going out 5 or 8 years. And if we were to do nothing, if we were to have 3% year-over-year increases, if we were to have 5% year-over-year increases, what does that look like? Is the department sustainable? Taking into consideration the need to buy, to make capital purchases, I asked them to factor in a capital purchase budget line item each year for $450,000 a year, so that each year we can buy a sanitation truck. The idea being, well, actually, it's kind of a 5-year cycle. So the first 3 years, we'd buy the sidearm trucks. The 4th year, we'd buy a rear loader. And then the 5th year, we'd buy the pickup trucks and the other types of equipment that we need in the department. So that was the concept. So that's factored into the budget. I don't believe that there's been a capital purchase plan in the sanitation department for a little while, and we do have some older trucks. We have 6 trucks that are from the original conversion over to the side loaders, which I think happened in 2010. So the recommended lifespan of a garbage truck is about 9 years. Well, those are 12 now. And so we've got, I believe, 6 of them in our fleet. So looking at all those types of things, what do we need to be prepared to charge our residents as far as rates? In order to support the department and give it what it needs to operate properly, and instead of, what I would consider maybe some duct tape and bubble gum. So the big idea behind the financials is where are we at and where will we need to be in order to have a positive, a solid support for our sanitation department. Then the third thing we did look at, I did put out for bid to privatize the sanitation services at the request of Council President Stewart. It does give us comparables. I don't think the city's ever done that. We have looked at other surrounding communities and see what they charge and assume maybe we would be in that ballpark. The bid document, I spent a lot of time on it because I wanted to make it as close to the services that we provide currently, so that whenever they gave me back those numbers, I could feel pretty confident that we were comparing apples to apples. So it does include recycling. It does include bulk pickup unlimited. It does include the backdoor services that was mentioned earlier. So we did take those things into consideration. The brush pickup is a little bit different. Some of the costs that a resident might save, should we go that route, would shift some additional, as I put it, some additional responsibility onto the residents. For instance, when we do brush pickup, while we might have a rule in place, we don't enforce it. We take the brush as you put it out there. The bid would require the resident to cut it into 4-foot pieces and bundle it. So, but by and large, the bids that came back, the services that were being required, should we go into a contractual relationship with them, was as close to what we do now as possible so we could compare. They were also going to buy our trash cans, so we didn't have to worry about going out and finding 17,500, trash cans and finding a use for them. So our rates are currently at $33.38 or $24.87 for somebody who qualifies for the homestead rate. We do pay to dump our trash in Oberlin at the Republic landfill. And that's a significant amount of trash that we transport there. In 2024, we disposed of over 22,000 tons of solid waste and 675 tons of recycling. So the REA report looks at the costs. We have a contract with Republic. They take into consideration the contractual increases that are in there. It looks at the structure of the department and other things that we pay for out of it, including we do pay some administrative costs to offset some of the management and other people that contribute to the department that aren't technically in sanitation. Well, thanks. And REA's recommendation for us to stay solvent in the sanitation department would require 5% year-over-year increases. And that would allow us to buy the garbage trucks we need, maintain labor costs and landfill costs and maintenance costs. You know, hopefully if we buy some newer trucks, maintenance costs would go down, but, you know, who knows about that. So that was the purpose. The purpose was to understand better how is the department running. We have a great crew of sanitation workers that go out every day in a hot truck throughout the summer. You know, and if they ride on the back of the bulk truck, that is tough work. I tried it for an hour, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So it's tough work, and they provide a service that's important to the city. It keeps our city clean. It keeps our city looking as best it can, and they are responsive. I can't tell you how many times I reach out to them. So the service, reach out to them, and I get a quick response, and it's taken care of. I think everybody up here knows that, and a lot of our residents do as well. The service is exceptional, but at some point the question becomes, can we continue to afford it, right? Or can the residents continue to afford it? And that was what we were looking at, while also trying to look at efficiencies in the department and way we could do things better and save money that we might not have been taken advantage of. Which, absent cutting services in the sanitation department, I don't see a lot of efficiencies that we can start taking advantage of. I think, you know, a truck goes out, it runs all day, it picks everything up, and it goes to the landfill. I don't know how you replace that and make that not happen so that you save the money. Are there things that we can do about enforcing some of our own rules as it relates to bulk and some other things? Absolutely, and we could tighten that up. Are there things that we can tighten up related to recycling? Absolutely. But I'll tell you that recycling per ton is almost twice as much as garbage is to dispose of at the landfill. It's 59 and some change for trash disposal, and it's $100 per ton for recycling. And if the load is more than 30% contaminated, there's a $75 contamination fee added on top of that per ton. So, you know, that is a very important factor as you consider the services we provide. It's $59.59 per ton currently for garbage, for trash, solid waste. So the whole purpose of this was to try and figure out what we could do better and how we could become more financially strong in the sanitation department. And there was, you know, there is a part of that evaluation as to, are we at a point where, for the benefit of our residents or what have you, we have to look at privatizing. So that was the purpose of it. We worked on it probably for 9 months or so, meeting with the consultants multiple times to get the financial study and the route study put together and make sure that it had reliable information and accurate information. And then the bids came in early September. And then I put everything together and got it to council as soon as we had the financial study completed. So that was the overall process, and that's what's been presented to council for consideration and further discussion.
Thank you, Director Pianowski, for your efforts on that. I know it was a lot of work and efforts on your part and those who had helped you in regards to that. So it's a lot of information that was given to us in regard to that. Again, this is just for conversation and that. I don't know if you can speak to in one at this time, but as far as there was comments regarding the bulk pickup. So you're saying, based on Republic, or if each one was different, but if we're just going to speak about Republic, because they seem to be at the low bid, they would still mirror what we do for bulk pickup. Is that accurate?
Yes, through you. First and foremost, I think the first question that comes up and related to what you're saying is it would be weekly. You know, some other communities try and do it every other week or once a month, and you got to pay for an extra pickup, that kind of thing, if you need it. So it was bid weekly pickup.
And that's what we do.
And that's what we do, and unlimited. We specifically had that conversation. Now, you know, a house clean out, something like that, they would not pick that up. The same that we shouldn't without charging additional. But a standard bulk, it's not a three-piece thing. It's unlimited, I think, within reason. So similar to what we do.
So back to the house cleanup. So when a landlord or a resident leaves out and they put everything out in the tree lawn, we don't charge extra for that, or we do?
We do most of the time, yes.
We do. Okay. This time I'll open it up to anybody else. Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. President, I have three things I want to address with this. In looking at the sanitation budget, there are 11 positions outside sanitation that are paid for by sanitation, 25% of their salaries and benefits. Those positions are the mayor, the finance director, the assistant finance director, the law director, the executive assistant of the law director, the city prosecutor, the assistant safety service directors, and the HR resource specialist. And what that means, if today we sign a contract with an outside company and that portion of payroll and benefits were to be pushed against the city's general fund, we're looking at a hit to the general fund of between $400,000 and $500,000 a year and growing. Safety Service Director.
Thank you. The number is actually 577,612 this year, and that's pursuant to a ordinance passed here in the 80s to structure some of that administrative costs for a portion of those salaries that you mentioned.
Correct. So by changing, it would, again, we're in excess of a $500,000 a year hit by privatizing to the city's general fund budget. That's number one. The second thing is, and I don't know how this has happened, but some things that have been paid for also out of the sanitation budget, things like the salt shed that was extremely expensive that came out of the sanitation budget, and I believe the leaf trailers that the street department uses came out of the budget. So I think that's something that we as a city council, Mr. Pileski, I see.
Yeah, I think through you, Mr. President, I think the leaf trailer may have been a grant that we passed through the sanitation fund. I'd have to check, but
Okay.
I don't recall the salt shed being paid out of the sanitation fund.
The biggest issue, my point was, the biggest issue was all the positions that are being paid out of the sanitation fund, and that expense that the city would incur to the general fund budget should we do away with our sanitation. Doing quick math on the 5% increase, that's $1.65 a month. I'm confident enough in these people out here in the audience, our city administration, you three sitting over there have proven that you're all obviously capable enough that we can come up with a way to cut that $1.65 a month going forward. You've all worked together so good, better than any time that I've served on council. So I think that would be, whether that be reformulating how we do recycling. You know, if we were to set up 4 quadrants in the city for recycling and did away with the home, whatever that might be. I don't know what it is, but again, I would turn that over to the experts in that. So those are the things that I wanted to address. Thank you, Mr. President.
Law Director Deary, did you want to weigh in on that?
Thank you,
Or
through you,
anything?
Mr. President. And again, I would defer to Director Plesky on this, but I believe in the past several years, although that ordinance from the 80s specifies how, we call them salary splits, may be, again, split between various enterprise funds and the general fund. I believe that sanitation has been removed from many of those formulas. I know they have been from several of the positions in my office, at least in the last year or two, due to the status of the sanitation fund.
I would ask again, Mr. Pileski is the law director and the executive assistant to the law director under the current budget, the 25%?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they are, but there were about, I think we took about 4 or 5 out of the sanitation fund last year that were in the law, part were coming out of the law director's budget.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, but we did reduce the number.
So I'll let Mr. Armstrong, I'll let Mayor and then Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the recycling, you heard the director talk about 675 tons was extremely low. Keep in mind, it was a number of years ago, due to the recycling not happening in the city of Elyria in regards to, we have residents that are bona fide recyclers. It's a small percentage. The bulk of our residents use the recycle card as additional garbage can. So our numbers, actually when Commissioner Lundy was still a commissioner, he sent me over data saying our recycling had went down. A number of years ago, it was determined by the city and the staff, at that time, Mr. I and Mr. Boone, that we were allowing the drivers on the road to look as they see what's being dumped into those trucks to determine where they're going to cross that threshold. They know their routes, all right? They know where, when, how it's going to be contaminated. That they made a decision that their truck was going to be considered contaminated to avoid that other $75 charge. They were to take it right to the dump. That's not been a secret. I've shared that. Previous administrations have shared that. And our recycling has gone down significantly. When you look at that and you look at the charge that we get hit with, that has actually saved us money on our tipping fees, as the director just shared there. If we choose, and I am an advocate of keeping our sanitation department, we're looking at grants and other avenues to do a re-education program for our residents to get back to the recycling. But keep in mind, there's not a lot of market for recycling that's out there right now. That's the reason why the charge is so high on that. And just to give you a brief, what they do out there, because I witnessed it, our truck gets dumped, and they put a machine in there that picks a claw up, and they take it in and they drop it in a room like this, and they have a person that individually picks through that. And they pull out the stuff that's contaminated and they weigh it. And when at the time it was 22% contaminated, we get hit with the cost. So our drivers have been very lenient on that, but just keep in mind the reason our recycling is down, and I'm no director, or not director, but Councilwoman Swerka and I have had conversations about some neighbors that have asked her about recycling and why we're not, and our numbers are down. That is the reason why, because the trucks are being contaminated and we're trying to save those extra dollars. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Armstrong?
Through you, President, to piggyback off of Mr. Tillett's response, we also have to think about the 4 mechanics and their 2 office staff members that get their full salary paid out of sanitation, which would be, we'd have to put them right back in the general fund also too, right, Ted?
Through you, Mr. Chair, either the general fund or some other fund that would need their service, yes.
Yes. And then also we bought 2 trucks with ARPA money, and how would we even get rid of those? Like,
Mr. Chair, we did purchase actually 3 garbage trucks through American Rescue Plan Act monies. If we were to go privatize, I do not know what that money, where that money would have to go. I would assume we'd have to return it to the U.S. Treasury, but I don't know that for sure. If we were to sell those trucks. But I don't know that for sure, but, and then we also purchased I believe, 2 trucks out of the 0.5% income tax fund. So I think the last 5, basically, we subsidize the sanitation fund by purchasing the trucks and other funds. And I think, and I'm also a proponent of keeping the department together, but you have to, I think, make a commitment to looking at the rates every year. We can't go 5 years without rate increases like we have in the past. It just, it's a business enterprise. It's there to make money, to cover depreciation, so we can buy the trucks and to, make a little bit of a profit to keep on going. So it's designed to be self-supporting.
Before that, Finance Director Pulaski, so is it now self-supporting with the $5 increase? Because half of the $5, and correct me if I'm wrong, half of that $5 went to wages and benefits or salaries, and the other half went to the department in itself? Or that proration or whatever that $5 went to?
I can't say how it was broken up, but, wages and benefits make up probably 50-60% of the budget, but it is capital intensive because the trucks now cost $450,000 apiece, so.
Right. Mr. Parnowski, you wanted to?
Thank you, through you. Part of REA's report broke down the different categories in which our expenses are. Wages and benefits are 47%, waste removal is 26%, and repairs and maintenance is 10%, and the other categories were less than 10%. We also, there's another ordinance from the 80s that pays towards utilities, some which, for the billing portion that they do, because they do the billing for sanitation, that's part of the utility bill. And so that this year is estimated to be $69,000, and that goes towards their wages down there. So that would be an addition that we'd have to, unless we could say we don't need as many people, that would be something else we'd have to account for, because that would have to go over to the general fund. The report that we received in 2018, making sure I'm looking at the right one here. Yep. So they recommended, that the rates, the standard residential rate in 2025 be $38.07. So we're $5, a little less than $5 short of what they recommended back in 2018. Then if you take into consideration all the years since 2020 that they didn't, those increases weren't put in place and we were operating at a lesser amount than maybe what was recommended, that contributes to our inability to buy the trucks. That contributes to our account, being concerning, going into the red, whatever the results may be. So I agree with Finance Director Pulaski that, that we can't just say keep sanitation and have a nice day. We have to impose rate increases, I would suggest for at least 3 years, 5% year over year, and then evaluate them at the end of the third year or going into the fourth year during the third year. And I'd like to buy a truck at a minimum next year, if not 2, and trying to figure out a way to do that. At some point, these trucks that are 12 years old, we have a graveyard out there that we're pulling parts off of trucks that no longer operate because we can't get parts for some of these trucks. And so we've got some newer ones, don't get me wrong, it's not the entire fleet, but that is the status of some of these trucks. And so that is a commitment. Mr. Pulaski used the right word, commitment. And so we have to commit to the department and letting them know that they're going to have the support needed in order to continue to succeed. That comes with rate increases in addition to whatever action might come from this council.
Mr. Armstrong still had the floor if you had another question.
Is your mic on?
Also, Director Pulaski, don't we have an outstanding balance on a truck that we have for purchase for about almost over $250,000?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did borrow issued notes, I want to say 5 years ago, and we bought a truck through the sanitation department. I've whittled that down. I believe the note outstanding is $100,000. I plan on paying that off next year.
Very good. I'll go to Ms. Sawerka, then Ms. Davis, and then Mr. Schneider.
Thank you.
Oh, did you? Well, they were,
You finished?
no.
Go ahead, you finished?
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. So I've had the long view of sanitation for many years. I was sitting in the seat over there that recommended the increases back in 18, 16, 15. We had a study back from Cleveland State University, 2 studies that told us back in, I think, 13 or 14, that we needed to do something. We needed to make some changes. And one of the immediate implementations that happened, that many of you remember, that saved dollars, was we got rid of commercial sanitation accounts because that was bleeding the department. So that was something that helped, that shored things up. I think what's been forgotten in all of this is that the process of going out for bid and looking at pricing was a good exercise in looking at how we can shore up what we have. And some of the things have been brought up already, whether we do need to re-educate the public on recycling, and recycling has changed a great deal since we went into it in 2010. I think that the union it was very helpful for the union to change their work hours. That helped shored things up. I think right now we have to take a look at all of the things that we can possibly do to keep this in the long game, because after all, we don't own the landfill, so we never can control those costs. And so taking suggestions and having a price that we put ahead in 2017, and I think in 16, 17, and 18, there were prices, suggested prices that were put forward that were not taken, and that's why we had to do a big jump last year. So I think that this is a good exercise, and I'm glad that the consultant is going to come and go over this with us in a couple weeks. Because the other thing that it's not really a wrinkle, but the other thing that affects all this is we are probably adding 20 to 30 houses a week on these routes. And the thing that is worrisome to me, besides adding additional houses and maybe having to change the routes or adding more or whatever it is we're going to have more and more properties that we provide sanitation and sewer only to, that we can't turn off. And when they don't pay their bill, now tonight we voted on legislation, there were 11, but month after month, we're seeing more and more of those accounts. So all of those factors need to be considered. And I applaud President Stewart for pushing the envelope and going out for bid, because I think it is giving us a better window into what we could do moving forward. And if we had a magic wand, we would wave it, but we don't. So we need to look at any options that we can do, and it all will go down to whether residents want to pay a certain price when it gets up to that point. Because again, we don't control the costs of dumping. And that's going to be very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sawerka. Ms. Davis?
Through you, Chair. So after sitting here looking, listening, thank you, gentlemen out there. Thank you for your union, because I'm union. The thing I hear is that bothers me is the recycle, because they ask so much of us as residents. You can't put a pan in there if it isn't dry. Who do that? If you ask me for an aluminum pan, then that's what you're going to get. They want us to do all of this to recycle. So I think we just probably need to look at ways that we can just put all this bulk in one area, use the same cans, and take it to the same site. Because nobody is going to sit around and wash out of a pan, then dry it out, then recycle, or even a bottle. They want you to dry out the shampoo bottle. It's so many things that the residents don't know that's not going to do. So I think we really, really need to look at this recycle situation to help us out. Thank you.
Mr. Oswald, then Mr. Schneider.
Through you, Mr. President. So since I've been doing this job, I don't think I got on one issue so many calls, so many emails. People let me know what they want to do. I've always asked, before this has all come up, I would say, well, we could keep our prices down, but we won't get the brush, or we won't get the, oh, no, we want that. So we know we want that. We know that some people can't come up with the extra money, and it's tough, and I get it. But in all these calls, I had somebody, I'm not going to give his name, but he explained a few more things that is probably not in that study. Like when we get high winds, okay, when we get high winds and all them branches are all over the place, what do? Do we call one of the nurseries to come and cut those trees down? No. Our departments band together. They do this. They fix it. Now, that's not into that study. When we have an apple festival or something and we got our trucks, we don't have that figured in there. The other one that he said was that when you got snow, a big snow, and if this is correct, he said that they have the manpower over there that everybody works together, and if they got to jump in trucks to help to get the salt down or get the snow moved, they've got the manpower to do that. So I think that department does so much more than people don't really realize what is out there. And to do an apples to apples study is kind of tough. And even if I was 100% against keeping these guys, I couldn't do it because all my residents said, Ken, you got to vote this way, and I got to vote the way my residents. And my residents want us to keep these people and not to privatize with somebody else. Thank you.
Mr. Schneider?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, most of my comments I had notes on have been spoken, so I'm not going to repeat myself too much, but I do want to acknowledge the department. They are extremely well respected within the community, and that's very evident lately with resident dialogue. You guys, I have not heard from one resident that is not happy with the service of the sanitation department. With that being said, I think we need to listen to that and plan accordingly going into the future for efficiencies, routes, recycling, and maybe have discussion with Mr. Pileski on the 0.5% income tax of what expenses we could use in that category to help with the costs associated with the projections in this study. So that's all I have to say at this point. Thank you.
One question I did want to ask. So in this future rate increases, if that's the direction this council wants to go, so you're going to looking at doing this in 2026 and 2027. What does that number look like? A dollar amount. So right now we're at $33. So is that looking to still purchase vehicles out of that fund? Are we still going to look at going to 2016 0.5% income tax to keep purchasing vehicles?
Well, it would be our goal to purchase vehicles every year through the budget. I mean, I would have Mr. Boone include in his budget a capital purchase each year, a capital line item for $400,000 or $450,000. The rear loaders are a little less expensive, so perhaps we could take that into consideration, but we'd review the fleet and see the biggest need. Right now, the side loaders, I think, are the biggest need. But if we were to increase the rate by 5% in 2026, it'd be an increase of $1.67 a month to a total of $35.05. And in 2027, it'd be an increase of $1.75 per month to $36.80. and then the homestead rate would fall accordingly based on the reductions they get. But that's what it would look like.
Okay. And then a question, and I don't know if this was a part of your formula. So there was some conversations about different department heads being paid out of the sanitation. Was that taken into account? This is strictly Republic's figures based on an 8-year contract. Can you, or at the next meeting, supply us if we were to incorporate portions of those salaries into this dollar amount? What did that look like?
Into which dollar amount? I'm not
The dollar amount that people are talking about, the finance director, your portion of it, a percentage of that is paid out of sanitation. So did you, if we were to find a different mechanism, how to fund that, and incorporating that into what Republic is that, does that make $18.96 if we're paying it out of the general fund? Does that make this total now $21.50 instead of $18.96 if we're trying to find a different funding mechanism for that?
Yeah, so through you, if you look at the bid amount, that would not be the final cost to the residents, I would suggest. And the reason why is that, we still need to pay the utility department to do the billing. We still need to pay for the forestry department. I say this as if it's a conclusion. I suppose we could find another way, but the forestry department, we would need to pay them somehow. Whether, the administrative, the portions of, for instance, my salary that's paid is with the understanding that ultimately I, oversee the sanitation department through the department heads and other supervisors. So, I mean, it's because part of my time is spent on that department. Is it 25% of my time? Probably not. This last year, maybe so. But, that's the idea behind it. It's that the law director's office reviews contracts for them and does other work for them when things come up. So, I mean, but to say that we would continue to charge that if we were to contract with Republic, we don't have a sanitation department that has the needs that are commensurate with that. So I don't know that that would be justified any longer. We'd have to shift that over to the general fund was my expectation, at least as it relates to the administrative costs. I did think that there would be some there would be some legitimacy to charging what we're paying now utilities for the billing on top of the Republic bid number, and also forestry under the same kind of thought process.
Right.
So that number would not be final. It would be that plus whatever we decide to include in that, and that's what the residents would be charged. I'm estimating around $21 or somewhere around there.
Okay. Does anybody else have any comments? Ms. Sawerka?
Mr. President, through you, piggyback on your question about the dollar, what is it, the difference, $1.65, you said, $1.50, $1.67?
For next year would be $1.67 would be the 5%
And in that,
increase.
my question is, in that number, and I don't remember if I read it in the consultant's report, is the union already agreed upon for 26 and 27 included in that
Yes,
figure?
yes, they had the collective bargaining agreement. and-
They added that in?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Schneider?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Director Pianowski or Director Pileski. We have the rate here for this of what we were projected to go up, and I know we've also passed water and other rates. Do we have a roundabout? Have you guys looked at what the total utility bill cost increase would be when you factor all of the components together?
I have not.
Okay, thank you.
So with that being said, if that
Can
would
we
be,
potentially get a figure of what it would look like with the projections that we've already voted on for water, sewer, and then through you, Mr. Chair, Director Pileski, on the sewer is expensive. Do we have any relief coming down? I know we've had some large fees coming into the sewer costs. Is that projected to come down at all anytime soon? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. President, Mr. Chair, what fees are you referring to?
The sewer, the EPA mandates. Is any of that going to, dissolve? That's
We've
probably
got-
not in our near future.
We've got a lot of projects yet to do.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. President. Doing some quick calculations, we've talked about $1.67 after the first year, roughly $1.75 after the second, somewhere around $1.90 after the third year. These are the 5% year-to-year increases to sustain the department as it is. Doing some quick calculations, that adds up to less than $5.95 per resident per month after that 3-year 5% year-to-year increase. And just to bring it all down to simplicity, that is less than the price of a grande cafe latte at Starbucks. So for everybody to consider if the sanitation department is worth sacrificing in the next 3 years, one grande cafe latte per month, that puts it in simple terms and that puts it in perspective. I understand that the only municipalities in the county that do their own sanitation are Oberlin and Elyria. And I fully understand that. And I know that we have to recycle. I like Councilman Tollett's thought about picking different quadrants of the city to take your recycling to. I also like the idea of incentivizing the recycling process. Safety Service Director Pinowski and myself had a conversation about that early in his tenure, about the concept of rewarding good behavior, perhaps doing a rebate or a little bit of a discount on your sanitation fee if you can demonstrate that you took the recycling to that center. It's all about rewarding good behavior. And I'm also wondering if we can partner with some of our other resources to get that education out there. Has anybody been in touch with or had communication with Lorain County Solid Waste?
Yes, I've met with Solid Waste multiple times. So quite frankly, they're waiting for us to make a decision on what path we're going to take, and they are very open to assisting us in that endeavor. So I've met with them multiple times. And I've also met with Gallagher, right? Marty Gallagher? Yeah, Commissioner Gallagher to discuss recycling. And again, they have some incentives to us doing recycling better because it might make some grant money available to the county. So he has said to me that once we make our decision, if it's to maintain the department, he'd like to sit down again and see how they can help us. So we've made those inroads. We've talked about how we can do recycling different. We've talked about a lot of different possibilities. The only one, we've talked about it quite a bit. So it's a matter of choosing which direction we're going to go so that we can then start making progress.
Mr. Lippian?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Pinowski. I'm glad to hear that the communication's happening. One quick question, too, because it is a cost saver. Do we pay for the shred truck when we destroy records documents at the mid and end of year destructions?
The county comes for the community shred day, the county does it. However, we are exploring starting to work with them for our public records as well. My concern was the certification process is required for the destruction of public records, so we have had conversations initially with them about getting out of the monthly shred contract and starting to work with them on that.
Great, and I think that's good because while I was at the Lorain County Records Center, I used them. They are certified, and it's free. It's a free service, and that'd be an easy cost saver.
Mr. Armstrong? Oh, I'm sorry, then Mr. Werka. Mr. Werka, go ahead.
I just want to comment through you, Mr. President, Mr. Lippian's comment. I don't think that any of us want to trivialize how much the increase will be. I think we're all serious stewards of this. I think what we're tasked to do is look at both sides of the coin. How much the increase would be, how it would affect the residents, and the other side of the coin is how can we do to minimize that, and what significant changes can we make to reduce our internal costs. And again, that goes back to the study, that goes back to the consultant, and I look forward to them coming so that we can ask a lot of those questions, because we really have twofold here: to keep the prices as best we can, to keep the service the way that it is, but to also have the long-range viability and health of this service line. So I take a little exception of making it as trivial as, well, it's as much as a cup of coffee, because it's a much bigger thing than that.
Mr. Werka. Mr. Armstrong.
Through you, Chair. Heard a lot of, different opinions, I guess I'm gonna say that, up here. But we work for them out there, pretty much at the end of the day. So I'm trying to figure out if any one of our workers.
We're not gonna-
We're not gonna do that?
we're not gonna do that.
That's
That's-
fine, so then I'll say it like this. They're worth more than a cup of coffee. They're worth more than what we're gonna give credit to. They're worth a lot more than what we realize. And if we're just gonna keep going back and forth, I think we need to figure this out sooner than later, because we don't need, in my opinion alone, we should not lose this resource. That would just be a catastrophe on the city if we lose that squad. And I'm not in favor of losing that team. So I just want to put that out there. I support y'all and I got y'all back, whatever I can do here, now, later on, but we got to keep them. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gillette?
Real quick comment, and I agree. Our sanitation department's incredible. The one thing that is an unknown that there's no way to calculate in, if we were to give up our sanitation department and give a company a monopoly in this county, what would happen then if they had free reign with no checks and balances? Every city in this county should thank us every week for us maintaining our department. It's my belief that we have maintained the low rates in this county, and if we were to give it up, we don't know the answer to how high sanitation would get in the future. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, so Director Pionowski, if you want to make a final comment. Okay, so I think it was a very good conversation tonight in regards to the process, what happened, what's before us. There was a lot of questions. I think if we can pull those together for the meeting minutes through the clerk's office, please send any additional questions to the Safety Service Director to make sure that, he can get you that information if something comes to mind. The next meeting, what I'd like to do is, I think it's on the 17th. I think Director Pionowski has kind of arranged with REA to come in to kind of give their evaluation of, their study that they did. And I would think at that night, we would go ahead and take action, because I don't think there's much more to talk about it in regards to that. So please inform, any questions more you have in regards to that. And to kind of segue in regards to what everyone said. You guys do a great job, and the purpose of me kind of doing this was to kind of, to Ms. Soroka's point, was to push the needle, because, we're tasked to make, look at ways to be efficient in our community. And, we talk about water bills and sewer bills being increased up, and we're under an edict for that. This is just was a way to look at to see if this is the direction that we want to go. So there's a lot more questions to be answered, and then I think on the 17th, we'll make a decision. So hearing other questions, this meeting's adjourned.